Okay, so we are here with some brand new Mining Simulator 2 leaks and news. Not really leaks, this is just more completely about the news. However, basically this is something that's going to be really interesting, based around Mining Simulator 2, as well as some potential new Rumble Studios games for the future. So let's get straight into it. We are here right now in the Rumble Studios Discord server, and as you can see, I've gotten pretty much every single message right here from Isaac himself, and this actually has some very interesting things alongside with Mining Simulator 2 and a potential new game coming from Rumble Studios. So let's get straight into it. So as you can see here, we haven't really got a message from him since the previous update, which was the 2022 update. However, as you can see, we have now gotten some brand new messages, quite a lot of messages as well, based around, how the kind of feel is right now with Mining Simulator 2, how he's feeling in general, how the other devs are feeling, and some other news as well. So let's get straight into it. So as you can see, this first one right here must have come from someone complaining about the game, but all Isaac says here is, all I said is, constant complaining and expectations make it impossible to want to update, which basically means that right now, Isaac is finding it very difficult to actually find, the passion to update Mining Simulator 2. Now, I can see where he's coming from this, considering the fact that, a lot of the time when a game updates, there's usually people complaining no matter what. It happens with most games, and I think really a lot of the times it can hit the developers quite hard, mentally and emotionally. So of course, with Mining Simulator 2 the way it is right now, there's not really many people enjoying it, and of course if a developer's not enjoying updating the game, people aren't going to really enjoy playing the game. It's the same for YouTube videos. If a YouTuber's not enjoying making the videos, it's just going to be a boring video. So I think overall, as of right now, Isaac is in a completely different place, as well as the rest of the dev team are in a completely different place right now for Mining Simulator 2. But let's keep going on. Only reason I keep updating right now is because it makes people happy. I'd make just as much if I stopped updating the game. Now basically what it means here is he's probably responding to someone who's basically said Isaac just wants the money, and that's pretty much it. However, as you can see, even if the game stopped updating, let's be honest, there will probably still be quite a lot of people playing the game, and considering the fact that most of the time, most of the money does come from loyal fans who will play the game no matter what, that's basically what he's saying there. However, the game does only update just to make people happy and to actually keep people, kind of just playing the game and just enjoying the game that he's making, which is pretty good. And of course, he repeats himself right there. I've updated games for 5 years nearly, weekly, with only breaks here and there, which is actually fairly true. Of course, Bubblegum Simulator did have a lot of consistent updates, which was very good from Isaac and the rest of the dev team. Alongside Mining Simulator 2, we have had a couple of gaps here and there. However, the game has still fairly updated, let's be honest, it's consistently updated weekly with just a couple of gaps here and there, which was literally only a week break. In terms of the actual whole game, I don't think we've really ever had 2 weeks where the game's not updated. So again, and that's always a really good thing as well. I've been on vacations and I still update during them without telling anyone I'm on vacation, which again is something that is really good. We saw that with the Atlantis world, I think, or the Atlantis world, whatever it's called, where the game was still updating. Of course, we knew Isaac was actually on holiday or on vacation at that point, which is pretty good as well. People don't realise I still see all the negativity when I don't speak, which is true. A lot of people do just lurk and read Discord chats. I do it quite a lot for some reason. I don't really know why I do it, but it happens. And of course, as a developer, when the game you're making is the big talking point in your own Discord server, it can get pretty disappointing and pretty depressing when you are seeing all the negativity. So it does obviously affect him right there. I try to until Friday comes, and then it's met with toxicity and expectations. So again, the same thing right there is basically what he is saying. The game's just kind of updating in the background from Monday to Thursday, and then the hype starts to build on Friday. Usually when the update does come out, a lot of people just get disappointed for some reason. Now again, I have done this in my past as well, and I do apologise for this, of course, because a lot of us do really want to see a lot of good things come from this game, and I think sometimes when the game does update and it is a little bit disappointing, I guess we now have the reason why, considering the fact that, even when updates were really good, and I think he talks about it a little later on, when the really good updates came out, especially the Summer Fair event, I think people still for some reason found negativity to talk about, which is absolutely crazy. So, I guess that's kind of like, a part of the downfall, really. People also don't realise I struggle with a lot of issues myself, and I don't think they think of some kind of robot. Of course, every developer is a human, and they have their own personal issues, and when they do come into development, of course, they're not just coming into it as like, the perfect human. I've not come into YouTube as the perfect human. And you guys won't go into any job, you guys won't become popular, being a robot. So it does say right there, of course, he has his own issues, his own problems, his own things to worry about outside of Roblox as well, which again can just amount to a lot of problems and a lot of pressure and a lot of stress a lot of the time. So of course, you just got to feel for Isaac right there. I'd appreciate if people stopped using our Discord to trash on us or any other game for that matter. And again, that is something that is very, very important. Usually when you are joining a Discord server, it's because you support the game. If you're joining Rumble Studios Discord server, you're supporting Mining Simulator 2. You want to go there to talk about it. You want to go there to see what's updating about the game. Maybe even to talk to the developers. But a lot of the time people just join it just to kind of like, get angry and just give it like, it's kind of like a path for them to trash on the developers, which again is something that's really stupid. Thankfully for me and my Discord server, that's not really happened as of yet. I am still expecting and waiting for it to happen at some point. But I think really when a game is so popular and there's so many like people, you're always going to get at least one or two people who are going to be just absolutely just toxic and stupid. And of course, the bigger the game, such as Mining Simulator 2 and Rumble Studios, just the more toxic people you're going to get. And I think really, at times, the popularity can become more of a problem. I think really, a lot of the time, when you are more of like a smaller community, it's a lot better because usually you're only getting the nice people and you're just like talking to each other, which is always really nice. But once the community becomes so big, it does become a little bit of a problem at that point. And of course, the bigger you get, the more toxic people you're going to get, because it's just a trend to hate on things. If we like go to like a really big picture and we look at someone like Lionel Messi, if you know him, he's a football player, and of course, he just gets hated because of it's a trend. There's just people out there who hate popular people and popular things because they just think it's a trend, and of course, that's just a really weird mindset. But of course, he says something else here. I do enjoy them. Fridays are always dreadful. And I'm going to assume he's talking about like, developing the game and stuff there. But then, when it comes around to Friday, it's just a massive, massive amount of stress, which is, of course, quite disappointing as well to see. And someone obviously says then, have you basically given up with games? And Isaac says, I want to make games, I enjoy making them, not just simulators. Any creative update I add is just met with complaints. Even look back to the Summer Fair event and any other unique thing I added. Basically, this was like another thing as well. The Summer Fair event, I think, was one of the biggest updates the game's ever had. And I think it was one of the most popular things. It was one of the best things the game's ever had. But still, people were complaining about it, which I think was pretty disappointing. And of course, I don't really see why people can complain about that. Now, I can see some other things as well, maybe like other unique things that are added in, such as the pet enchantments. Of course, that was a pretty big part of the game, and I think a couple people were pretty disappointed about it. But of course, because it got trashed so much, that idea was pretty much just scrapped, it seems. And of course, it's just basically, kind of just another problem and another bit of stress added onto Isaac's head, which is pretty bad. And I think some other things here, I usually don't, there's just an excess amount of toxicity lately. And of course, again, that's another thing. With the game kind of slowly losing players, I think really there's just people around now who just want to trash on the game, which is really annoying and stupid again. And of course, if you want to trash on the game, just leave, go play something else. There's so many games on Roblox, just go play those instead. Let Isaac be happy with his community, even big or small, just make sure a community is happy, because that's what people live for. People just need a reminder that we're people too. Again, he's not a robot. All this being said, we will be working on other projects that we find fun, and we will still be updating Mining Simulator 2, which does tie into the brand new games that they're potentially going to be making for Rumble Studios. Now, there is some other things as well to note from this. If we just go onto the most recent page, of course, we are going from like least recent to most recent. So we just scroll down real quick. It says, yes, but I'm also someone who cares a lot and things affect me. So of course, people can get affected in different ways. There's some people who are very chill and very calm about a lot of things. I'd probably say I'm one of those people. I don't really think let things affect me. If someone wants to spread hate somewhere, let them do it, and it'll just kind of wash away at some point. However, the difference really between me and Isaac Isaac is the fact that he gets it a lot and he gets it all the time, and of course once you get it all the time it can play in your mind quite a lot, it can stress you out a lot. And when people are saying that your game is trash and everything like that, to say how much time you would spend on doing that game, developing that game, making that game, and then just for people to trash on it, yeah, it can be very, very stressful. So again, you can obviously see where Isaac's coming from. And then of course up here it says, sometimes it's hard to realise the developers behind the comments made are real people too. I think it's something we've all done at one point or another, even myself with games I enjoy, which of course again, if you do enjoy a game, you can get quite emotional about it. And of course if there's something in that game that you don't agree with, maybe it can be like quite a bad thing in the game, it might even be a good thing, but you just don't agree with it, you can of course get very emotional about it and then go and spread a lot of hate, which again is another problem. I think a lot of the time people just need to kind of like, you know, keep that opinion to themselves, or rather give it as like constructive criticism. Don't go in saying, oh, this update's trash, this thing's trash, this thing is stupid, this thing's pay to win, all that kind of stuff. Instead, I think it's better to go in and just write a small paragraph with saying, you know, like, I don't agree with this specific thing, I think it could be changed like this, or something like that. You know, give a constructive criticism rather than just toxic hate towards the developers. Because I think a lot of the time developers do actually appreciate the feedback rather than the trashing and all that kind of stuff. So I think really for a lot of people, it's time to start giving some more constructive feedback and all that. Another thing as well, which shows that he's not really in it for the money, he's going to be making Season 8 Premium just 1 Robux, which means really I think most people will be able to afford 1 Robux, which I think is a really good thing as well. Of course, that means basically everyone is going to get Season 8 Premium, which is absolutely amazing. You know, that's always something that everyone's going to look forward to. And it says here, anyways, we have an idea for a new simulator that doesn't just evolve around AFK hatching, but rather a lot of other engaging mechanics as well, which again, you know, I think that was kind of like the downfall as well of Mining Simulator 2. It did seem to fall into an AFK hatching simulator, which I think a lot of people were pretty concerned about and a lot of people didn't really like, and I think really is probably the main reason why a lot of people left. I think Mining Simulator 2 could have had a great potential to be that kind of game, what revolves around other engaging mechanics. However, of course, you know, once the kind of hype goes from the developers themselves and they kind of just like, you know, they don't have that passion to develop anymore, of course the game's going to fall more into an AFK hatching simulator rather than, you know, like an actual proper simulator, which I think is pretty sad. I think Mining Simulator 2 could have been that big game that a lot of people liked, probably could have been rivaling for Pet Simulator X's spot on top, but of course, as you can see, not really doing that anymore. I think really right now it's averaging around like 1,000 to 2,000 players, considering the fact that it was averaging pretty close to 100,000 players at its peak. Yeah, I guess it really right now, we'll have to be kind of waiting around to see what happens with these new games, as well as what the direction is going to be for Mining Simulator 2. Most likely though, it will kind of continue on with its current AFK hatching, because it will be a lot easier for the developers. They won't really need to think about it too much. They won't have to spend too much time doing it, or as much time, I guess you could say. But you know, I think really this next game could be the make or break for Rumble Studios. But I think really, considering the fact that Isaac is a very good developer and he's got a lot of very good people behind him as of right now, I think this new game could be very good indeed. It says here as well, but it needs to be designed that way from the ground up instead of after the fact, which again, you know, I think that might have potentially been another problem with Mining Simulator 2. With the eggs, how they were, I think really with Mining Simulator 1, the eggs were perfect where you had to mine and all that kind of stuff for the eggs. However, when, you know, it came around to Mining Simulator 2 and they had the standard eggs in there, I think again, that kind of gave it the platform to only really develop into an AFK hatching simulator. So hopefully we can see something a little bit different in terms of if they are actually adding in eggs, maybe we'll see something different rather than just, you know, like an auto hatching kind of thing and all that kind of stuff. Maybe we'll see a new mechanic for it, which would be quite nice. For a little bit now, we've been writing a framework that lets us easily update and make new features with not as much effort, which again is another good thing. I think really then they can update Mining Simulator 2 without really too much stress. If people hate it, they've not really wasted too much time on updating the game anyways, and of course it'll just keep the people happy who are actually like liking the game and everything like that. So I think that's another good thing as well. All new games will be using it as well, which is a good thing as well. You know, depending on how many games they're actually going to be releasing, they could have like 3 or 4 games going at once. So having this new framework, which makes it easier to update the game, is going to be very important indeed. We're moving on here. I saw a lot of people really love the MS2 debug system, so we've been writing a lot of things like it. Basically what that means is, if you go into MS2, you can see like all your stats and everything like that, where your current coordinates are, and then, if you go into the settings, you can open up the debug menu, which I think is a very, very good thing about the game. I do like that a lot. And as you can see up here, they've actually gotten some other things as well. If we just jump to these messages, well, actually we can open it up right here. These are some other debug things as well. So there could be FPS, which is a good thing as well. A lot of people do struggle with finding their frames per second, so I think this is going to be a really nice one to have in the game. The memory as well, which can be pretty important for a lot of people. The received, I'm not really too sure what these are, but these are some like other things as well that Roblox does offer, but seeing it in the game is going to be really, really important, and I think it's a good thing as well. And over here as well, you can actually see your ping. There seems to be adding in like a stats button as well, which is always really cool as well. Now, these most likely won't get added into MS2, but in the future games, that could be really, really fun to see. But yeah, again, he goes back to seeing that he's lost the motivation, but he's back to the grind again, which is pretty cool. So of course, we will be seeing a new game from Rumble Studios soon. I completely rewrote Roblox's developer console too, which is pretty cool to see. Of course, it's not really often that you will see that happen. But yeah, you can see over here as well, even more debug menus, like a proper full-on graph for the frames per second, the heartbeat, the unions, the mesh parts and everything like that, just everything possible that you would want to see. But yeah, of course, you can't really increase the Roblox FPS. But as you can see, some other stuff as well, basically like the whole debug menu that Roblox currently has, like the F9 logs, like the debug menus and all that kind of stuff, it's getting pretty much rewritten for this whole new game, which is pretty cool as well. And of course, he goes on to mention about Nert. Nert makes updating easy since he does the rigging, the colouring, the modelling, and so on. So yes, we'll still have updates. So of course, basically the main reason why MS2 will be still updating is pretty much thanks to Nert. Now, of course, Nert has come in, I think, since maybe just before Halloween, or maybe even before that, but I knew about Nert's existence within Rumble Studios around the Halloween time, and of course the pets have looked very good in there. They've been very stable, I think, as well. And of course, we've seen a little bit of a change with the pets, with the shinies now having like different like looks to them, rather than just a colouring change. They actually have like a whole new look to them as well, which is always a really nice thing, very creative. We also have added an idea for a creative styles game, which we want to make as well. Lots of ideas, of course. I believe this says Friday here for the next update, so of course, if you are looking for the next update, most likely will be coming out on Friday. If we do it, it will probably be semi-open world as well. So rather than like, having just like the normal worlds, kind of like where you just kind of go around, go through the different worlds, and that's pretty much it. Instead, this game seems to be semi-open world, where you actually kind of like, can roam around a little bit more, which is really fun as well. A little bit of adventuring, but it won't be a story-based game, which I'm kind of a little bit disappointed about. However, of course, writing a story for a Roblox game sometimes can just be more effort than it is, or than it needs to be, and everything like that. So of course, I can understand why there's no story base, but hopefully we do get some sort of quest that kind of has a little bit of a story in there, or a little bit of lore or something like that. I'm not too sure. But yeah, that's basically everything right now from Isaac. Anything you need to know, MS2 will be updating this Friday. That will be coming up. Of course, we will also be seeing a brand new game sometime in the future from Rumble Studios. Not too sure what it'll be, but it will have a little bit of adventuring in there, some semi-open world stuff, and just some awesome, really cool debug menus and stuff like that. Anything else I'm not really too sure about as of right now, but I will try and keep you guys updated. Let me know down below what you guys think right now of the whole Rumble Studio situation. What you think of MS2 as of right now, and are you excited for any new games Rumble Studios will be bringing out? Let me know down below. But yeah, that's it from me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.